Yeah. So for this media budget review, um, I think it's one of the most economically updated review I think I've ever observed in quite some years now, and uh, it gives us opportunity to assess how the economy is actually performing halfway through the year. And it's just like running a business. You don't wait until the end of the year to see whether the business is doing well or not. You just have to review the progress and the process and identify the challenges and make a little adjustments where necessary. So that's exactly how this review is all about. So looking at this year's own, I think it presents a positive picture of where Ghana economy is actually heading. So compared to the previous years, this economy is becoming more stable, and inflation is coming down. The city is remain stable. It has been stabilized, and I think investors' confidence has gradually been improving too. So these are all the positive signs because when investors have confidence, businesses also expand, and with that, investors and investments also increases and creates more job opportunities for people to have. So what I also like is that I think the government is not only focusing on today's challenges, but also investing in Ghana future through, you can talk of energy, you can talk of technology, you can talk of transport and other, key sectors. So if these investments are implemented well, they can reduce the cost of doing businesses, and then they can also attract more investment and investors. And with that, it can create sustainable jobs for people to also have. And ultimately, Ghana wants to see this improvement reflecting in their daily lives through jobs, lower prices, and better public services. And I believe this budget is moving the country to the right direction there.
Moving the country to the right direction.
Sure.
Are you saying that, judging from where we are coming, the difficulties of 2022, 2023, 2024, how well have you think this government has done in trying to deal with those difficulties and creating a foundation on which perhaps they can spare growth?
Yeah. Okay. So I can talk first about the inflation. We've seen the inflation come down from 13.7% to 5.3%. And I think that is very good positive sign. And now that doesn't actually mean suddenly everything will be cheap, because people are still feeling pressure a little, at the moment. But what it actually means is, prices are no longer, rises faster than it was before. And that's very, very important because when inflation is under control, family can plan their finances a little better, and businesses can have more confidence in investing. And overall economy becomes more predictable. So if we can keep the inflation level low and increase production, I believe people will gradually feel or begin to feel some relief in their daily lives. And the economy itself seems to be becoming stable now. We are seeing a stronger economic growth through the budget reading, and our foreign reserve too is improving. And sometimes this economic terms sound a little technical, but then they actually affect our daily life if you see it with the right eye. A stable economy gives businesses confidence to expand and attract more investors, and it creates more job opportunities, and it also helps the prices to be under control. And that's at the end of the day, no country actually achieves sustainable development without first building a stable economy. And yeah, so I can also talk about the oil and gas sector. I was quite happy to hear the government continue investing in this oil and gas sector. I heard one of your panelists talking about it, especially for the gas to power strategy. For a very long time, Ghana has been depending on expensive exportation of oil and fuel to generate electricity, which has been imported from Russia and some part of Turkey. If you can produce and use more of your own natural gas, it will reduce the cost of generating power. And the good news is it will stable your like it will be more affordable and reliable electricity for the one of the biggest things businesses need to grow their businesses. And when companies spend less on energy, they invest more and expand more operations. So I think I like the fact that the budget also include plans to a new gas processing facility and I think 1,200 megawatt plant, which is being in process. These are all kinds of long-term investment that can strengthen our energy sector and support the industrial growth. And I think one thing we need to focus more on is about the flood. I haven't heard anyone talking about the flood, but then it was captured. Yeah, it was a little captured in the in the budget. Flood prevention is very very crucial at this moment. Every day we lose a lot of lives, homes, businesses, and public infrastructure because of this flood. We all knew what happened um, just last month. Some part of Accra was submerged. So the cost that this country is pulling into repairing roads, schools, and other facilities after this disaster is appalling. So I was encouraged to see the government allocating more resources towards this flood control and emergency response. Personally, I think preventing this disaster is always a better investment than waiting for them to happen before we spend some more money to fix these damages. So if we continue investing in this drainage system and flood controlling infrastructure and emergency preparedness, we will not only protect life, but then we will also save the country a lot of money at long last. Yeah.
Interesting. And it's clear some of the things that excited you, because you're just talking about the flood issue, you're talking about investment in gas. But
Yeah.
are there things that you would like the government to prioritize more? I was speaking to your colleague from the US who was of the opinion that the matter of jobs need to be taken seriously. To you, what are the things that you want the government to start focusing on, maybe from the next budget?
Okay. So the economy now is showing signs of recovery, which is very obvious, and that is really encouraging. But many Ghanaians will judge the success of this budget by only asking just one question. Do you know the question?
No.
Okay, the question is, can I have a decent job?
Okay.
So I would therefore like the government to place even greater emphasis on creating sustainable jobs, especially for the young ones coming, leaving our universities, talking of our technical institution and our vocational schools. We need a permanent job in the sectors like the manufacturing, the technology, the agribusiness, the tourism, and other services. I believe every major government project should have a clear target for a number of jobs it will create and how the locals also benefit from it. So the first one I would like to talk about is the job. And the next one is I am really, really concerned about this particular thing because I like farming. Though I'm young, but then I like farming. So the government should also pay more attention to the agri sector, but not only about this traditional agri that we do, like growing crops, cultivating and selling. No, for so many years, Ghana focused mainly on producing crops, but the real opportunity is not what we produce after, but then we need to move strongly into the agro processing side. So it is good that the budget is addressing issues like road to farmers communities, because farmers also need better access to road. But beyond that, we must ask ourselves, how can I add value to what we produce in Ghana? Ghana produce a lot of things like cocoa, cassava, maize, tomatoes, mango, orange, a lot of things to talk about, and many other agricultural products. Yet a large portion of these products leaves country in a raw form. When we export raw material, we lose major opportunities for job creation and wealth creation as a whole. The real money is not just in growing the crops. The real money is in the processing of the crops or maybe the products. So instead of exporting the raw cassava, or maybe we should be processing the cassava flour, that is isam, or maybe cassava flakes, gari, or industrial starch or ethanol. I don't know whether you have the story about the ethanol. Ethanol. It is one sought after product in the Western world, especially in the Western Europe here. Every year, the importation of ethanol to Europe is 800 million euros. Just the importation of ethanol, just ethanol. So we can focus on that place and probably have a lot of investment over there. Ethanol is used for making alcoholic beverages. So instead of only exporting cocoa beans, we can also expand our production to chocolates, cocoa wines, cocoa juice, even the cocoa husk. It can be used for soap, and the leaves too can be used for tea. Healthy tea, those kind of things. So it's having a lot of products that we can get from it, and this is how country develop strongly their economy because they keep more value within their own economy. And I can also like to talk about the economy is changing now, and the jobs of the future will not only depend on academic qualification. It will require practical skills in areas like the digital technology, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, engineering, data analysis, and other technical fields. So the government should continue strengthening partners with like the universities and the technical institutions and industry so that these young graduates with the skill that matches the needs of the employers will get um, some job offers. So we need education system that can prepare these young people for a real opportunities in the economy. So this job of tomorrow will belong to people with the right skill, not just people with certificates. And the last I would like to tackle is uh, I believe development is reaching Ghana now, but then I think it has to reach every part of Ghana. Too often, economic opportunities are concentrated in Accra, in a few major cities like Kumasi and Takrade. So we need to create more, yeah, industrial park, processing centers, logistics hubs, and businesses across all regions. And young people can find opportunities in their own community to reduce pressure on the major cities like Accra and Kumasi and strengthen the local economy. So every region has a resources and potentials. For example, the northern region, we can start solar farm over there. 4 hectares of solar farm employs about 100 to 120 youths. So just imagine having a very vast hectares of solar farm. You can just imagine the number of youth that can employ over there. So and each region should have its own opportunity to become economically growth rather than centralizing everything within a couple of major cities. Yeah.
Fantastic. In fact, it's interesting how you've summed it up when it comes to the question of can I have a decent job as the question that this government needs to answer going forward. Now, you've talked about what can be done, but what is government's role in this? Because government has, where you are in Paris, in France, many parts of the world, it is not governments that set up these parks. It is not government that's supposed to create majority of the jobs. Majority of the jobs will be left to the private sector to create. What should be government's role in ensuring that this is done?
Okay. So the government cannot only have carry all these burdens all by themselves. If you talk about the small, I don't know whether you heard about the small medium scale enterprise in the budget. They are the backbone of almost every economy in the world. So they create the small medium skills enterprise. What I'm talking about. So they create jobs, they support families, and they contribute significantly to national development. So measures like increasing VAT registration threshold and reducing some taxes on local manufacturing products like fruit juice and supporting industries such as textiles industry, agri industry can give the local businesses more room to grow. And if we genuinely want to address unemployment, then we must create an environment where the small and medium scale enterprises can also have wings to spread, because they have a major role to play in our economy and probably in this unemployment thing. So I think some of the focus should go to the small and medium scale enterprises. The government should probably help them so that they can also help the government, because it's like you scratch my back, I also scratch your back. They can also help about the unemployment thing you're talking about. Yeah.
And let me conclude then by appealing to the accountant in you. You realize one of the things the Kesalato forcing running of the economy has been very cautious about is balancing the accounts, ensuring that I am not spending more than I have. I know exactly what I'm spending on. He's trying to be to take to put a handle on everything that happens within the public service. Whoever is buying, I want to know who is buying what, so that I know what may come up tomorrow. What do you make of this approach to handling public resources?
Yeah. So one thing from this media budget, it's clear that the government is trying to increase revenue and control your expenditure and reduce waste. So I think that's the right approach, because when the public finance are well managed, it builds confidence in the economy and helps stabilize the city and creates more room to invest in important sectors like education, the healthcare, the infrastructure, and job creation. So, just like every family has to make sure that they don't spend or overspend than they earn, the government also has to manage its finances responsibly. And if we keep spending beyond our means, we end up borrowing more, which will increase our debt and put pressure on the economy. So balancing the books isn't about cutting spending or on everything. Is about spending wisely and making sure every city brings value and reduce unnecessary expenditure, and collecting the revenues that are already been due. That's the taxes. When government gets the balance right, the whole economy will benefit. So a country cannot keep spending more than it earns forever. Just like a household or a businesses, all these business everything, the government must balance its book if uh, it wants to build a stronger and stable economy. Yeah.
And I said I was going to be the last part, but I don't know what's your interest, because big discussion over the past 1 year about the Bank of Ghana
Hmm.
funding the gold board, their gold purchase program, and that has been used to
Hmm.
sustain the CD. It looks like they are cutting that funding from the Bank of Ghana and looking for other funding sources. What do you think of this move?
Okay. Talking of gold board, I even wanted to talk about. It's another policy that really stood out to me because this gold board thing is really really pushing the the economy now. It's a very nice initiation set up by our visionary president, President John Mahama, managed by lawyer Sami Jamfi. I think it is one of the most strategic initiatives in the media budget, because it it's helping Ghana get more value from its gold. So I think the finance minister announced that I think gold has generated additional 15 billion US dollars in this small piece in our foreign exchange inflows. So, which has helped strengthen the Ghanaians' reserves, and it has also supported in stabilizing the Ghana city. So, I was also pleased to hear that the large-scale mining companies have also agreed to sell 30% of their gold to this local refinery. So, it means that we can also add value to our economy and create more skilled jobs and retain more of our wealth in a natural form. So cutting finances, I think Goldboard is quite doing good over there, because they're also pumping in more finances into the economy. So cutting everything and whatever, it doesn't matter. So far as they are being stable and doing well, that's where the concentration should always be on. So I think Goldboard is doing quite well. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Yeah. Welcome, sir.
Newell Boateng is an accounting and international marketing lecturer at Estec University in Paris. He's also secretary to NDC Pro from France. Join us on the line. Taking us exactly 25 minutes past 8 here in the studios of Radio Gold 90.5. In fact, we'll be speaking to Comrade Akwesi Adakwa, who has some issues on what next for this government. And I think that's